Hello, 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 and a massive welcome back to the Miss Juliet English Channel. I'm your host, Juliet, and I am so thrilled you're here today because we're going on a trip. Not a literal one, unfortunately. No suitcases required today, but a linguistic journey. We're going to master the art of talking about one of life's greatest pleasures, travel. Specifically, we're going to break down step by step exactly how to talk about your last journey in English. Whether it was a backpacking adventure across continents or a simple weekend getaway to the next town, you'll be able to describe it with confidence, color, and a whole new set of vocabulary. And to be my co-pilot on this adventure, I have my fantastic, well-traveled, and always entertaining friend, Romeo. Welcome back to the channel, Romeo.
Juliet, it is an absolute pleasure to be back in this virtual studio with you. And what a perfect topic. You know me, I'm always dreaming about the next trip, but I also love reminiscing about the last one. I think sharing travel stories is one of the best ways to connect with people.
I couldn't agree more. It's universal. But for English learners, it can also be a source of anxiety. They think, oh no, I have to use all the past tenses correctly. What's the word for that beautiful thing I saw? So today, we're going to demystify it all. We'll create a simple step-by-step framework. And Romeo, you're our guinea pig today. You're going to tell us all about your most recent trip, and we'll build the language around your story. Sound good?
It sounds like a plan, and the pressure is on. But luckily, I just got back from a trip a couple of weeks ago, so it's all still very fresh in my mind. The memories are vivid, and so is the sunburn.
Perfect. We want all the details, the good, the bad, and the sunburned. Okay, let's start our journey at the very beginning, the announcement. How do you simply state where you went? The easiest way is to just say, I recently went to, or my last trip was to. But you, Romeo, you used a fantastic alternative right at the start.
I did? What did I say?
You said, I just got back from, which is a wonderfully natural and very common phrase. It immediately tells the listener that you've recently returned and are probably full of stories. So let's start there. Romeo, where did you just get back from?
Okay, so I recently got back from a fantastic short trip. I went to a gorgeous, relatively quiet region in the mountains, a place called Green Valley. It wasn't a famous tourist hotspot, which was part of its charm.
I love that. A relatively quiet region in the mountains. That already paints a picture. Now, the next logical question, and one you will always be asked, is about your travel companions. Who did you share this experience with? This is a key part of setting the scene.
Absolutely. This was a mixed trip. I went with my partner Alex, but we were also meeting up with two other couples there who were old friends of ours. So it started as a romantic getaway and turned into a lovely little group holiday.
Oh, that's a wonderful dynamic. And look at the language you used. I went with is the standard, but then you added meeting up with, which is a fantastic phrasal verb for describing plans to join people at a destination. It's different from picking someone up, which is what you do at the airport. This is for coordinating with others. Now, it's also useful to state the purpose of your trip. Was it for fun, for work, for family?
This was definitely a leisure trip, purely for pleasure. Sometimes I travel for work, which is a whole different experience. Rushing between meetings, staying in generic hotels, and I've done my fair share of visiting family in another city, but this was a proper holiday. I've also, a few times, embraced the solo travel life. Traveling solo is an experience everyone should have at least once.
Those are such important distinctions. A leisure trip, travel for work, visiting family, traveling solo. Each one comes with its own set of vocabulary and stories. Now, the plot thickens. How did you get there? The journey to the destination is often a story in itself. Did you fly, drive, take a train?
We had a bit of a debate about this, actually. We considered taking the train because it's more relaxing, but in the end, we decided to drive. We figured having a car would give us more freedom to explore the remote mountain roads once we were there.
We considered taking the train. We decided to drive. Perfect. That shows your thought process. Now, tell me about the drive itself. Was it smooth sailing?
Well, the journey there was supposed to take about 4 hours if everything went perfectly. But as often happens, it ended up taking closer to 6.
Oh dear, 6 hours? What happened? This is where the drama enters the story, and drama is always engaging.
Well, first, we got stuck in a massive traffic jam just on the outskirts of the city. A truck had broken down and it caused a huge backlog of cars. We were just crawling along for what felt like an eternity.
The vocabulary here is a storyteller's gold mine. It was supposed to take. That was the plan or expectation. It ended up taking. This is the reality, often used when the reality is worse. And the phrasal verb got stuck in a traffic jam. You can also get stuck at the airport due to a delay or get stuck on a train between stations.
Exactly. And then, to make matters more interesting, about halfway there, we ran into some really thick fog as we started climbing into the mountains. I'm talking zero visibility. We had to slow down to a crawl. It was a little nerve-wracking, but also strangely beautiful. We could barely see 10 meters in front of the car.
We ran into some thick fog. Another brilliant phrasal verb. To run into something here means to encounter it, often unexpectedly. You can run into bad weather, run into roadworks, or even run into an old friend at the airport. And we had to slow down to a crawl is such a vivid description. It's the opposite of making good time. If you're flying, the equivalent would be our flight was delayed by 3 hours, or we had a bumpy landing because of turbulence.
Yes, I've had those flights too. This time the journey was all on the road. But finally, we made it. We arrived at our accommodation just as the sun was setting, exhausted but relieved.
We made it. The universal sigh of relief after a long journey. Wonderful. So, you arrived. The next chapter is your accommodation. Where did you stay? This is a huge part of the travel experience.
We had booked a charming little wooden cabin that we found on a holiday rental site. It was nestled right in the woods, with a stunning view of the valley. It was completely different from a standard hotel.
We had booked. There's that past perfect tense again. You use it here because the booking happened before the main past event of arriving. It's setting up the backstory. And the vocabulary for places to stay is so varied. You can stay at a hotel, a hostel, a bed and breakfast, a vacation rental like an Airbnb, a cabin, a resort, or even crash on a friend's couch.
I've done all of the above. This was definitely a cabin. The process was smooth. We checked in using a key lockbox, dropped our bags, and just stood on the porch for a moment, breathing in the fresh, pine-scented air. It was magical.
I can almost smell it. And you've sequenced the actions perfectly. Checked in, dropped our bags. You might also unpack your suitcase or freshen up after a long trip. Now, the main event. What did you do? This is the heart of your story, and it's where we use the mighty past simple tense for most of our actions.
Okay, so our first full day was packed. In the morning, we decided to go for a long hike. We found a trail that promised a spectacular view from a peak. The path wound its way through ancient forests, and we stopped constantly to take photos of the wildflowers and the strange mushrooms.
This is a perfect example of narrative in the past simple. Decided, found, promised, wound, stopped. You're telling a sequence of events. You also used a more descriptive verb, wound its way, which is much more evocative than went. And you mentioned taking photos, a universal travel activity. We took hundreds of photos. We went sightseeing. We explored the local area.
That's right. And after about 2 hours of uphill climbing, we finally reached the summit. And the view? It was absolutely breathtaking. It made the entire exhausting hike worth it. We sat there for a good 30 minutes, just soaking in the view and eating our packed lunch. It was magical.
I can almost smell it.
and you've sequenced the actions perfectly, checked in, dropped our bags. You might also unpack your suitcase or freshen up after a long trip. Now, the main event. What did you do? This is the heart of your story, and it's where we use the mighty past simple tense for most of our actions.
Okay, so our first full day was packed. In the morning, we decided to go for a long hike. We found a trail that promised a spectacular view from the peak. The path wound its way through ancient forests, and we stopped constantly to take photos of the wildflowers and the strange mushrooms.
This is a perfect example of narrative in the past simple. Decided, found, promised, wound, stopped. You're telling a sequence of events. You also used a more descriptive verb, wound its way, which is much more evocative than went. And you mentioned taking photos, a universal travel activity. We took hundreds of photos. We went sightseeing. We explored the local area.
That's right. And after about 2 hours of uphill climbing, we finally reached the summit. And the view? It was absolutely breathtaking. It made the entire exhausting hike worth it. We sat there for a good 30 minutes, just soaking in the view and eating our packed lunch. It was magical.
Reached the summit. Great specific vocabulary. You could also reach the viewpoint. And soaking in the view is a beautiful alternative to soaking up the atmosphere. It means you're absorbing the experience fully. Now, a trip isn't all perfect moments, right? Any mishaps, any funny stories?
Oh, of course. How could I forget? On the way down from the summit, I, in my confidence, was trying to navigate a particularly rocky part of the path. I wasn't paying enough attention, and my foot slipped on a loose stone. Before I knew it, I had landed rather ungracefully in a patch of mud.
Oh, Noah, are you okay? This is a fantastic story.
I was perfectly fine, just a bit muddy and very embarrassed. My friends, of course, found it hilarious, so I ended up with muddy jeans and a bruised ego. But it's one of those memories that makes us laugh now.
And that's a key lesson. The imperfect moments often become the best stories. Look at the language. I was trying to navigate. Past continuous for an ongoing action in the past. My foot slipped. Past simple for the completed action that interrupts it. And then the result. I ended up with, which is a fantastically useful phrase for the outcome of a situation, good or bad. I ended up with a fantastic tan. I ended up with food poisoning. Okay, maybe not that one.
Let's stick with the mud. It was less painful. Later that day, after we'd cleaned up, we did some exploring in the nearest village. It was tiny, just a few houses, a church, and a traditional pub. We went in, and it felt like stepping back in time.
I love that. We did some exploring. We went in. Simple, effective verbs. Now, let's talk about a pillar of any great travel experience. The food. What did you eat? This is where you can really bring the culture to life.
The food was a real highlight. This region is famous for its hearty, farm-to-table cuisine. One evening, we went to this family-run restaurant, and I decided to be adventurous. I ordered the local game stew, something I had never tried before.
I had never tried before. There it is again. The past perfect is used to talk about a past experience, or lack thereof, that existed before another past event, ordering it. It emphasizes the novelty of the experience. So what was the verdict?
It was unbelievably delicious, rich and flavorful. I must tell you about the dessert, too. We shared a slice of a traditional walnut cake, and it was so good we ended up ordering a second one.
We ended up ordering. See? Ended up again. It's so versatile. It means the final decision was somewhat unplanned. You didn't go in intending to order 2 cakes, but the situation led you to it. Now, beyond the planned activities, what was the overall feeling, the atmosphere? Did you have any particularly special moments?
The overall feeling was one of complete tranquility. One of my favorite moments actually wasn't a big activity. It was on the second evening. We built a fire in the cabin's fireplace, played some board games, and just talked and laughed for hours. No phones, no distractions. It was so simple, but it was the part of the trip that felt the most relaxing and authentic. We reconnected with each other and with a slower pace of life.
That sounds absolutely idyllic. And you've described it beautifully using those past simple verbs. It's a great reminder that you don't need to talk only about the big tourist attractions. The small personal moments are just as meaningful. Now, all good things must come to an end. How was the journey home? Was it as eventful as the journey there?
Thankfully, the journey back was much more straightforward. The weather was clear, the roads were quiet. We took a different, more scenic route back, which was lovely. We checked out of our cabin at 10 a.m. after a final coffee on the porch, and we set off for home. We made a couple of stops at little farm stands to buy some local honey and jam, but otherwise it was a smooth, reflective drive.
Checked out, the essential verb for leaving your accommodation. Set off, a great phrasal verb meaning to begin your journey. And a scenic route is a wonderful phrase. So now that you're home with your honey and your memories, what's your overall summary of the trip? How would you describe it to a friend who asks, "So, how was your trip?"
Oh, overall, it was a truly refreshing getaway. It was exactly what we needed, a perfect blend of adventure, nature, and relaxation. It wasn't without its minor hiccups like the traffic and my muddy incident, but those just add to the story now. I would highly recommend a similar trip to anyone feeling a bit burnt out from city life. I came back feeling recharged and already dreaming about the next one.
That is the perfect conclusion. You used so many great summarizing phrases. It was a truly refreshing getaway. It was exactly what we needed. It wasn't without its minor hiccups, a polite and gentle way to say there were small problems, and finally, a recommendation and the look to the future. I would highly recommend And I Came Back Feeling.
So, to do a quick recap of our own journey through travel vocabulary, if you want to tell your story, remember these steps. The announcement, start with I recently went to or I just got back from. The companions and purpose, say who you went with and why, leisure, work, etc. The journey there, describe how you traveled and any interesting events, delays, nice scenery. The accommodation, talk about where you stayed. The activities, use the past simple to list what you did, saw, and explored. Include a funny or challenging story. The food, describe what you ate and any new things you tried. The feelings, share the atmosphere and your personal highlights. And the journey home and conclusion. Mention the return trip and give your overall verdict.
Beautifully summarized, Romeo. You've been the perfect travel guide through the English language. Remember, everyone, you don't need to use every single step or every fancy word. Pick the parts that are relevant to your story. The most important thing is to share your experience with passion. Your enthusiasm will carry the conversation.
So now it's your turn. This is your call to action. Think about your last journey. It doesn't have to be extravagant.
Exactly. Your homework is to practice. Take 5 minutes today, write down a short paragraph about your last trip, or even better, find a friend, a language partner, or just talk to your mirror and tell your story out loud. Use the framework we talked about.
And we are genuinely curious. If you're feeling brave and want to share a piece of your world with us, please do. Tell us in the comments below. You could answer one of these. What is your favorite type of accommodation to stay in? What's the most memorable food you've ever had on a trip? Or what's a funny travel mishap you've experienced?
We absolutely love reading your comments and hearing about your adventures. It feels like we're building a global community of travelers and English learners right here. Thank you so, so much, Romeo, for sharing your wonderful story and your linguistic expertise today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine, Juliet. Happy travels and happy learning, everyone.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep sharing your stories. Goodbye.